Hello, it's Miss Moorfield, and tonight's video is going to be all about vocabulary. So, thinking about our geometry unit, we're going to go over a lot of terms, and some will be very familiar and some may be fairly new, but we're just going to get that vocabulary out of the way and what do these things actually refer to so that we can start using them and practicing those words as well as those skills. So, we're going to start out talking about polygons, and polygons are any closed figure with straight sides. So all of these are examples of polygons. Now you'll notice, of course, some of these shapes you can recognize. You'll see a triangle or a rectangle, a pentagon, a square, that was a very good arrow, sorry, a hexagon, etc. All of those actually fall under one category, which is polygon, which is a closed figure with straight sides. Now you'll also notice that some of these will qualify as quadrilaterals. For example, this is a quadrilateral, this is a quadrilateral, this is a quadrilateral, this is a quadrilateral, this one, and this one. So if you notice the ones I've circled, you'll notice that a quadrilateral is any shape with four sides. Now, quadrilateral, of course, starts with that quad, which we know means four, which is our hint. So all of these are polygons, sorry, but 6 of them are also quadrilaterals. So going into types of quadrilaterals, we have some other options. So our first type of quadrilateral is called a trapezoid, and you'll notice these pairs of arrows that I have here. And remember, we talked about arrows signifying parallel lines. So this top and bottom line are both parallel in both of these shapes. A trapezoid is any quadrilateral that only has one pair of parallel lines. So this line will eventually cross this line, which means that they cannot be parallel, just like this line will eventually cross that line, and they are not parallel. So both of these shapes are examples of trapezoids because they have only one pair of parallel lines. Sorry. Now a parallelogram has two pairs of parallel lines. So this top line is parallel to the bottom line, and this side is parallel to this side, but you'll notice they are not parallel to each other. So we've marked that by showing you the top and the bottom have just one arrow, whereas the sides have two arrows. So you know that they're both sets of parallel lines, but they're not parallel to each other. You'll also notice the single dashes are showing that those sides are equal in length. So again, the two parallel sides are equal, and the other two parallel sides are equal, but they are not all equal to each other. Thirdly, a different type of quadrilateral is a rhombus, and you'll notice one familiar example is, of course, our square here. The rhombus I typically think of as the slightly slanted square, sort of like this. And in this case, it is a parallelogram, so it has two pairs of parallel sides, but all sides are equal. So you'll notice I have two sets of arrows, but all of my dash marks are either all one line or all two lines because all four sides are the same length. But it's two sets of parallel sides because, of course, this line and this line obviously run into each other. Triangles, we have two main types of triangles. There's a third option, but the third option is basically anything that doesn't fit in the first two. So we're going to focus on the two that have specific traits. So an equilateral triangle, as you might guess in the word equilateral, that it has equal sides. Sorry, all sides are equal. So this would be an example of an equilateral triangle if each side had the length of 2, and you'll notice the dashes that are all the same to signify equal, as well as this triangle if they're all the same, they're all 4 centimeters or units. So an equilateral triangle again has all 3 equal sides. It also means that it's going to end up having equal measurements for our angles, but right now we're going to focus just on the sides of the triangles. An isosceles triangle, however, only has 2 equal sides. So you'll notice in this shape, the two upright sides are equal, and you'll notice the dashes to signify that, whereas there's no dash on the base of the triangle. This is also an isosceles triangle, and what you'll notice is that I also have an equilateral triangle. Because an isosceles triangle does not say it can't be more, just that it must have 2 equal sides, an equilateral triangle is an example of an isosceles triangle. Lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about circles and just a few key words for our circles. The diameter of a circle is the distance from one side of the circle through the other. It must pass through the center. So the center of my circle is F. So a diameter, for example, would be AC because it passes through the center and it crosses the entire circle. Now if I put a line here that, oops, sorry, for example there, that would not be an example of a diameter because it does not pass through the center of a circle. So it wouldn't be an exact equal length to AC. So that would not be an example. A radius, however, is the distance from the center to one side. So a diameter is twice the distance of a radius if it goes all the way across, whereas a radius is just the distance from the center to the edge. So for example, FB would be a radius. All radii of a circle are equal, and we say radii when we're talking about more than one example of a radius. So FC would also be a radius, DF would be a radius. Now if we named this Q, Q cannot be part of the radius because again it does not pass through the center. But all of these are going to be exactly equal length. So again, most of this will be reviews. Some of this may be new information, and I know this is a lot of vocabulary tonight. This would be an excellent video to maybe rewatch a couple times as different things come up. But I just want to get you to start thinking about this vocabulary and these terms so we can really start using them and practicing them in class. As always, post any questions, and I will see you in the morning.